Happy Sunday!
Happy Sunday!
Hello and welcome, whether you're new or returning. Welcome to the office and welcome to Dungeon Manager, a very virtual office at the moment with things being the way they are in the world. It's been some time since we've been around since the end of our Season 1 finale. But before we come back with Season 2 in September, we're absolutely thrilled to bring you a brand new 3-part mini-campaign set in Icewind Dale. Exactly a month ahead of Wizards of the Coast's brand new book, Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden. It is a brand new adventure module from them, taking you through levels 1 to 12. It explores Icewind Dale and the surrounding region, as well as a conglomerate of settlements called 10 Towns, as it is beset upon by an unending winter, which is explored upon in full depth in the book. It's been put together by a terrific team, and there are some great creatures, some new characters, some fantastic new locations. While we won't be playing the actual campaign of the book, the events from our story will be taking place parallel to the action of the book, so hopefully it gives you a little tease of what to expect before it's released in stores and digitally on September the 15th, so do check it out. We'll link it below. Before we start though, for those of you who might be new to D&D, we'll give you a quick overview of how the game works. So essentially it's a role-playing game where you assume the role of a character that you have created. You choose their ancestry, their class, their abilities, and you steer this character through decisions and riddles and encounters. Some of them are social, some of them are combat, but to help ascertain your various successes and failures throughout the game, you roll one of these. 20-sided dice, affectionately referred to as a D20, and guiding you through the world is an individual who assumes the role of the Dungeon Master, who describes the world, the characters, the creatures that you might meet, and assumes their role when you're speaking with them in conversation. But ultimately, no one is more important than anyone else around the table. It is collaborative role play and proper harkening back to storytelling around the fire. But before we begin, we have a couple of thanks. As always, a huge thank you to our assistant dungeon managers on Patreon, Graham Muir and Rory O'Sullivan. Thank you so much for your continued support. It means the world. If you want to check out our Patreon as well, cheeky plug, you can do so at the link below. Also, thank you so much to Jordan Dean and the fine folks over at Fishbowl Films for our wonderful intro. And speaking of which, thank you as ever to the incredible Peter Flint, not just for our continued soundtrack, but also premiering with this episode our brand new theme tune. So thank you so much for that. You'll hear more of that in a bit. And also, we couldn't have done it without a huge thank you to Esther Letts for our wonderful character art. You'll be seeing more of that throughout the episode. You can find her on Instagram at Rocket Bubble. Not only is she a wonderful artist, but also for the foreseeable future, all commission costs and payments are being accepted in the form of receipts to Black Lives Matter charities. So not only is this a great opportunity to support an incredible artist, but also a great cause as well. So do check her out below. And finally, a huge thank you to Wizards of the Coast, not only for helping promote this episode, but also for allowing us to play in their particularly icy corner of the world. We cannot thank you enough. If you would like to support us, you can check out all of Season 1, which is here on our YouTube channel in a very handy playlist. We're also available in podcast form on iTunes, Podbean, and Spotify. And I believe that's it. So, without further ado, I believe it's time to step out of the office as we head into Icewind Dale across the tundra of terrors. Icewind Dale. Lying to the north of the spine of the world and to the west of the Reghead Glacier, it is a land of ice and snow, swept by Arctic winds that whip across its expansive tundra. There are few brave enough to eke out an existence in this cold corner of the world, but those that do so within the small collection of settlements spread throughout the Dale, known as 10 Towns. Hardy folk all, they have carved out a life for themselves, having learned to weather the frigid surroundings and to use the harsh environment to their advantage. For if you can learn the secrets of the land, life in Icewind Dale is far from impossible. But things change, and not always for the better. For over a year now, the horizon of Icewind Dale hasn't so much as glimpsed the sun rays. While the sun continues to rise and set throughout the rest of Toril and Faerun, Icewind Dale is instead plunged into perpetual darkness, and there is no end in sight. Rumours spread that this eternal night is the doing of Auril the Frost Maiden, said to be the divine embodiment of winter's fury. None understand why this might be, nor what her motivations might stem from, but it leaves both 10 Towns and the region at large a far more perilous place. The locals live in fear, exacerbated only by whispers that spread like freezing wildfire. Stories of the Duragar warlock Zardarok Sunblight scouring the land in search of something called black ice, of frost giants roaming the land once more, and hushed conversations of adventurers flocking to Icewind Dale in search of a nethery city buried deep beneath the snow, the secrets of a once great civilization preserved deep beneath the ice. But even stranger, as recently as 1 10-day ago, an earthquake rocked the land. None know its cause or its origin, but though life has continued on as normal for the citizens of 10 Towns, or as normally as can be expected given the circumstances, in the settlement of Caer Konig, this seismic activity has brought with it news of a disappearance. An entire team missing to the north of the town, and one of their lead researchers, Professor Esther Blutfist, is desperate to find out what has happened to them. And coming through the icy fog that surrounds Lac Dinashire, a small wooden sailboat makes its way across the water, a single orange torch flickering away at its stern. And at the vehicle's front, a weather-beaten sailor with a greying beard and heavy layers made of hide and fur stabs at the ice with a large spiked barge pole, and as it carves through the icy water, the boat's lone passenger looks on as the shore begins to approach. Catherine, would you like to give us your character's name, describe their appearance, and their preferred pronouns, please?
Okay, so I am playing Lana Freeman. She, her. She is human with pale skin. She is average height. She has almost black hair that's very, very short, kind of short back and sides. That's the term, isn't it? And long on the top.
It is, yeah.
Man hair. And then like a white stripe, like a badger, from the front towards the back. And she's wearing armour, sort of like a knight would wear, but it's kind of worn down, a bit shabby. She's carrying a big sword, and she's obviously wearing furs over the top of everything.
Okay. So, as you stand there, looking out onto the oncoming shore, you see Caer Konig in front of you. It's built in a semicircle around the shore. It's a fairly small settlement, and its buildings probably number no more than a couple of dozen, but it stands in front of you, terraced rows of houses and buildings that recede from the shoreline like tiers of an amphitheatre as the shore slopes upwards. And between these structures, in between the raging wind and snow that whips around you and the settlement at large, you see the sputtering of torches against the snowy breeze. And along the shore, you can see a number of uneven jetties jutting out into the water, made of uneven bits of wood, and each of them end, again, in flickering torches. But as you sail closer, and as the sailor in front of you makes good work of the ice that surrounds, you just hear a voice come from his direction. First time in Kirkonic?
It certainly is.
So I picked a fine time for it. You local to Icewind Dale?
No, from very far away.
Well,
Is it always nighttime?
no, just this last year. Sun hasn't been seen over the horizon in nearly over a year now. So what brings you?
I would just work and travel.
Well, fine thing to be finding work around this time. I must say, you're the first person who's given me gold in a good time. It's a good thing you found me, though. Ferry has been shut off around a year now, since this here lake all but frozen over. No business or travel between here and East Haven. And he gestures back towards where you came from. For some time now, trade is all but dying.
Can I help you with the ice?
By all means. We're almost there now. Shouldn't be more than 10 or 20 minutes.
I'll take out my ice pick.
Okay. Make a strength check for me, please.
First drop.
It's really bad.
Yay.
I rolled a 3. It's a 6.
You are new to Icewind Dale, as you have shared with your companion, and you have never come across, especially where you come from. You've never come across
What
ice.
is this cold water stuff?
You've certainly never come across ice quite this thick, and even with your ice pick, which is newly bought and very, very well crafted, it does little against this thick layer of ice. But as the sailor next to you continues to break away at it, you see the black water underneath, black from both the lack of light, but also you suspect from its very, very, very deep waters. Whatever lies beneath must be hardy indeed to survive in these kinds of conditions. But content that there's probably relatively little you can do, you settle back as the boat continues to make its way closer to the shore. And as it does so, the oranges become a little brighter, the torches a little more shapely, and you can start to see figures walking in between the buildings. Few figures, especially compared to East Haven, the town you came from. But as you slowly make your way closer to one of the jetties, you see one such figure. And they are large. Very large. In fact, as you get closer, you see that they dominate much of your immediate view as they stand at the base of the jetty. And as the boat begins to pull up next to it, and the sailor pulls out some rope to throw round and more, Michael, would you like to give us your character's name, describe their appearance, and their preferred pronouns, please?
Yes, so my character is called Ognan, which is Ognan. He has pronouns he, him. He is just shy of 8 feet tall and is basically a polar bear standing on its hind legs by all appearances. He wears a fairly loose robe around his chest that is quite open at the chest, allowing quite a lot of the white fur that's slightly duller than it would be if he was a little bit younger to puff out. He wears slightly baggy trousers and that come down just to the knee. He also wears, those are ice blue, and he also wears a black robe that is open and goes to just mid-thigh. His nose has a couple of bends in it, as if it's been broken a couple of times, and over his back he has slung a very large fishing spear. And he has wraps around his hands and feet to stop them getting too wet from the ice and snow.
Lovely.
I forgot to spell my name. Do you want me to do that now? It's LA''ANA.
Because fantasy.
What about a free man? Is that
Unfortunately, no. I mean, I could put an apostrophe in. I could do FRE apostrophe E-M-A-N.
Or you could have a dash. It could be like free dash, fam.
Yeah. Whatever you want, Jess.
Oh, thank you. I use this power of punctuation responsibly.
Use it wisely.
Well, as the boat approaches, and Ognan, you wonder just how many apostrophes might be in this individual's name that travels. Lana, you see this large, rather hulking individual at the end of the jetty.
So, am I still on the boat?
You're just pulling up to it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But here's a extra gold for your stay.
Oh, thank you very much. You staying long or are you travelling northwards?
I have no idea.
Well, best of luck, whatever you end up doing.
And to you. Thank you for your help.
Thank you. Safe travels.
And I'll turn to Ogden. Good, do you have the time of day?
Do I know the time of day? And I assume I do.
You have become acclimatized to this strange constant night that has raged for almost a year now. And you have grown used to the timing things from midnight. And you know now that it is around 3-4 o'clock.
In the morning?
In the afternoon.
In the afternoon, sorry.
Who knows?
Okay. One of them. Afternoon. You here for Blutwurst?
Yes, are you the welcoming
Good.
party?
Follow. And I turn around and start loping off. And as he walks, he's got a slightly odd, almost lackadaisical walk to him. It's not what you'd expect from somebody of his size and girth.
I just say, I'll take that as a yes, and follow.
So, as you walk away from the dog, you make your way through the centre of Caer Konig. And all around you, these wooden buildings, very finely made, few of them though there are. Snow coats their roofs and long icicles hang down from every one as the snow swirls around you. It is very quiet, save for the wind and the snow, and the very few who trudge through the streets keep their head down against the cold, all of them in heavy hides and furs, many of them with hoods up. You see humans, dwarves, half-elves. Lana, at one point you swear you see 3 small kobolds, small dragon-like individuals, stacked on top of one another wearing a large trench coat, teetering around a corner. And you notice as you walk through the town that many of the individuals sort of give a curt nod in this bear folk's direction. They seem to have an element of familiarity, even if just having seen him around, but they keep a wide berth, you notice. But they continue walking through, and eventually the two of you find yourselves in front of a small wooden tavern. A sign hangs above the door displaying a hook plunging down underneath some ice, and a knucklehead trout approaching it through the water. And above this you see the words displayed: hook, line, and sinker.
So, are you local then?
Ish. You coming in?
It looks nice and warm. I think I will.
I go through the door.
Okay. As you go through, and Lana, as you follow, you see a fairly quiet wooden interior with, most notable, a roaring stone fireplace off to one side with furs draped across it, and you can see a couple of reindeer heads mounted on the wall. There are a couple of tables and chairs around, and what few patrons there are turn and look at the both of you as you enter. And you can see off on the left there is a bar behind which stands a fairly paunch looking half-elf gentleman with curly blonde hair, and next to this you can see a set of stairs jutting up to a balcony that spreads around almost half the room.
So, what now?
You want a drink?
Are you buying?
And food? No.
Then still yes, I think.
We'll go see Glenn. Walk over to the bar.
Welcome to the Hook, Line, and Sinker. First one's on the house. And The half-elf gentleman looks in your direction, Lana, and you can see that he has already prepared 2 half-pint ales, and he pushes them across. It's always on the house, of course, you know that, big guy. What can I get for you folks? Food? More drink?
I'd love a warm meal.
Warm meal? Not a problem. We can get you up a small roast, something like that.
That would be wonderful.
All right, bro, I'll get the kitchen on it. What about you, big guy?
You seen another newcomer?
Newcomer, well, not had many, except for you, and of course, you. But yeah, we had someone in yesterday. You here to collect them?
I am. Where's the room?
Room 6, just up the stairs. You know where you're going, right?
I nod, take the half pint, and just walk off.
All right, cool. I'll have your meal out very soon. I'll be right back.
Thank you.
Okay, not a problem.
I'll just sit here then.
Lana, as you sit down with your half pint of ale and watch Ognan lumber up the stairs, the steps creaking ever so slightly under his heavy gait, a number of the patrons are looking round at you and they nod before returning to their drinks and meals respectively. It is a very quiet atmosphere and most of the conversation seems to be relatively hushed at the moment. It doesn't drown out the wail of the wind outside the window. Ognan, as you ascend the stairs and find your way up onto the balcony, you eventually make your way to a very humble-looking wooden door with a very rough 6 attached to it.
I knock once.
There is a resounding knock that echoes throughout the entire tavern, and everyone looks up briefly before once again returning to their drinks and their meals. But eventually, Ognan, after a brief, somewhat uncomfortable pause, the door opens a crack, and you see a figure behind. Diani, would you like to give us your character's name, describe their appearance, and their preferred pronouns, please?
So her name is Rianve, that's Rianve, and it is she, her, and she's relatively plain-ish looking. Like she's 6 feet tall, and at first when you look at her, like there's nothing really that special about her. Her clothes are kind of like baggy, there's nothing particularly fancy about them, but she has quite short, stark white hair. She's very tanned, and she has white pupilless eyes. So initially she kind of seems a bit plain, and then you look at her a little bit longer and you're like, oh, she's a bit weird.
So, Rianve, as you open the door, you are met with a barrel chest of white hair plunging over icy blue robes, and looking up you can see peering just underneath the frame of the door 2 very heavy-set eyes, very dark, looking down at you.
Hi.
You here for Bloodvest?
Who are you?
You can call me Old Master.
Right.
Drink.
Water would be nice.
I look down at the ale and then just throw it over my shoulder into the bar.
So, Lana, you watch as this tin cup flies through the air and there is a ding, 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 ding. And once again, all the patrons, for lack of anything else to do, all look as one towards the tin and then back to their discussions. They seem
I'm one with the crowd now.
fairly used to this display. But Rianve, you watch as this liquid goes flying into the air and down onto the floor below.
I'm sorry. What do you want with me?
You here for Bloodvest? She sent me to fetch you.
Oh, are you my guide?
Yours and others.
Others?
There's one more downstairs. If you want some water, come join us. She's eating.
Oh, right. Okay.
We better set off before the cold sets in too hardly.
Okay.
I just walk off.
I follow.
as you do so, looking back at the room that you've left in a fairly sort of sparse condition, and looking at the hulking creature that walks down the stairs, you feel a familiar pressure on your shoulder, like a hand resting, and you hear a voice whisper into your ear, familiar and yet alien. You can feel it, can't you?
Not now.
Oh, no. It's closer than ever. What you've come for. He looks interesting. Good in a fight, I'd wager.
Shut up.
Oh, no. All right. I won't keep you. Go. Enjoy your water. And the hand lifts.
How audible is Rianvi's response to that?
Make a perception check for me.
New character, please bear with me. 19.
19.
Oh, heck.
You hear some mutterings, and you make out a number of the words that she's saying. It's hard to ascertain any kind of context for this, and looking behind you can see it's almost as though she's waving away some kind of fly, but there doesn't appear to be anything out of the ordinary, outside of someone just talking to themselves.
Ognan just mentally shrugs and puts it down to anybody being crazy enough to work this far north.
As you both go down, you see, Ognan, much to your probably displeasure, you see that a meal has just been brought out and placed in front of Lana.
Oh, no, I knew she was eating. she said she was, so I mentioned that to Rianvi, so I know that we're delayed.
It is, however, a little larger than you were perhaps expecting. And Lana, as it's placed before you, the warm aromas fill your nostrils. It is not perhaps as elegant as the meals that you're used to, but it is certainly nicer than something you have had in a very long time.
I'm going to tuck in.
What are the other two doing?
I just stand at the table.
I will go and ask for some water.
Absolutely. You sure you don't want ale or anything after the first one's free?
No, I don't drink, just water, please.
All right, water it is. Luckily, plenty of it round here. Okay, there you go.
Thanks.
Not a problem. You done? Your stay done here?
I look at Ognan.
She all wrapped up here, big guy?
I don't know.
Well, tell you what, I'll keep the room open for another night, maybe two, and then if you don't turn up, well, yeah, I'll let it out to someone else. It's not like we're getting any other business around here.
That's really nice of you, thanks.
Not a problem. Well, enjoy your water. If you want anything else, let me know. So, as Ognan stands over you, casting a fairly large shadow, Lana, eventually the awkward scraping of cutlery on the plate comes to an end, and you push the plate forward, and the three of you are sat and stood around, respectively.
Oh, well, I don't think I've met Rianvi yet. So I was just going to say, like, she was at the bar and I was at my table, so I didn't want to introduce myself, but I mean, I will do that now basically, when she comes over to the table, I will.
Yes. Well, I go back over to the table with my water.
Good afternoon. Are you with him?
Yeah, I guess so. Who are you?
Oh, forgive my manners. My name is Lana Freeman. And you are?
I'm Rianvi.
Rianvi. I don't think I caught your name, Sir Bear.
Not a bear. Usuri. You can call me Old Master.
Fair enough. So what's the plan now?
You finished? You drank your water? Good. Come. And I walk out into the cold.
Just before you reach the door, you feel a tug against your robes, almost as though someone is using you for balance. And as you turn around, you see that this is exactly what is happening. A figure has stumbled forward and grabs onto you for support, spilling a bit of ale on you. It's a
Dodge out of the way of the ale.
Okay, make a dexterity saving throw for me, please.
Well, I have evasion.
Oh, okay.
So if I'm successful, it will miss entirely.
Yeah.
That is a 19.
You step to one side as the liquid splatters on the floor, and you turn to this individual, a rather tall silver dragonborn in leather armor with sort of moustache-like accoutrements on the front of his snout. He has a crossbow loosely over his shoulder. And
from the motion, I thought you were going to say he has a parrot, and I was like, amazing.
And he looks up at you as he sort of stumbles to his feet. Sorry about that. Have I seen you before? I recognize your robes.
I imagine you'd remember seeing me before.
No, the color of the robes I recognize you. Yeah. Where are you from?
Take his wrist a little bit too tightly, and then just let him go.
And from the bar, you hear Glenn go, Trovis, for God's sake, stop harassing the patrons. Just misstep. You go off into the cold. See you soon, you bright blue robes.
I dismiss him and walk out.
You step out into the cold, followed by the other two, and you lead them through Caer Konig until eventually, after a 5-minute walk, beset on all sides by snow and icy wind, you see a small building made of grey stone and timber, a sturdy wooden extension jutting off to one side, and from out of its roof you see numerous pipes and small chimneys, all of them belching forth dark grey smoke. And much like the other buildings in the town, it is smothered in a thick layer of snow, all of its windows closed up with wooden shutters and flickering orange light seen through the gaps.
I knock on the door.
There's a pause before the door opens, and in front of the three of you, you see a fairly tall human woman, fairly elderly, very pale skin, heavily lined as well, and very austere features, with dark green eyes and wavy, shoulder-length grey hair. And she wears heavy furs even inside, and large hide mittens that hang off the sleeves on lengths of twine. And she looks up at you, Ognan. Ognan, thank you so much. You have found both of them, I trust.
I just lean in close to her and go, "It's old master, remember?"
I apologize, old master. Please come in, Master Usurai, and and you two. Are you? Which one is which? Which one of you is Lana, and which one is Rianvi?
My name is Lana.
Lana, I got your letter. Thank you so much for your offer to help, and that must make you Rianvi.
Yeah.
Lovely. Please come in out of the cold. And she closes the door behind you, and the loud breeze outside stops. And coming in, you are immediately met with a harsh but very welcome wall of warmth as a stove roars off to one side. The room itself is busy, but nevertheless it is ordered. The far wall is covered with maps and diagrams with locations studded with various pins and connected with twine. A desk sits below this, and a table in the centre of the room. And next to the desk there is a large cabinet filled with vials and beakers. But most surprising of all, especially given the absence of colour outside, you see all around the room a cornucopia of plant life and fungi that surrounds the room, some in jars, others in glass casing. Various colours, and many species of plant that you are not familiar with, nor indeed do you recognise. But entering, Esther turns to you and, gesturing to the kettle on the stove, says, would any of you like a drink of any kind, anything warm? I can do tea or warm leaves, anything of any kind.
No, thank you.
No? How about a water? Just anything for the parch? No. Very well. And for you, Rianfrid, would you like anything at all?
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Lovely. Well, I will bring in the other person that you need to meet. Paige, would you like to come in from the other room? And there is a moment before another figure enters. Jess, would you like to give us your character name? Obviously already given, and your character's appearance and their preferred pronouns, please.
Not her full name. So the full name of my character is Page of a Book, or Page for short, and that is Page. No eyes in sight. Get out of your eyes. Go and stay in the bin where you belong. As you can tell, her pronouns are she, hers. And if you know your D&D lore, you'll know from her name that she's a tabaxi, which is essentially a cat person, like the Khajiit from Skyrim, just a big old anthropomorphic cat. If you also know your D&D lore, you know she's in the wrong place because tabaxi are generally from sort of warm climates, but no, she is actually native from Icewind Dale, as she's essentially just a snow leopard but on two legs. That's basically the best way I can explain her. She's a scholar, a bit of a nerd, so she's wearing quite simple clothes, probably made out of seal skin or whatever fantasy seals they have. I think there is is there like a talking one in the source book? Was that a whale?
There's a talking whale.
A talking whale, yeah.
There could be talking seals too.
Yeah.
Anything can talk.
Yeah.
Put your mind to it, really. And you know, from a snow leopard, she looks perfectly normal. She's got spots, yellow eyes, sort of mostly white fur, and there's a few ink smudges on her chin and sort of on her arm. I come into the room. Oh, good afternoon, all. You must be they.
Yes, this is Lana, and this is Rianfi. All of you meet Paige.
Pleasure.
Shake all of their hands.
Paige, would you like anything to drink? I was going to have a tea myself.
Oh, I would love to share in the tea, Esther.
Lovely. Paige has come to Caer Konig fairly recently, was it not?
I mean, I've been here for a month or so. You know, I'm a Icewind Dale, born and bred, you know, but never been to Caer Konig too much, but I had to come here on Esther's invitation. I mean, the stuff she's been working on, well, no spoilers, but it's very exciting.
Well, she is underselling her contributions to everything here. She has been key to my research at the moment. We had a recent acquisition from under the ice that she has been helping me with, and she has been utterly infallible. There you go, my darling. And she gives you a cup.
I've got a real mug I can use.
Under the ice, yes, around 2 months ago, I think it was, just over a month before Paige joined us.
And what is it that you do here exactly?
Well, I am one of two that runs the Enblut expedition. We are a research team of around 20 in total, but we have been positioned here for around 30 years in total. We came here around then. Our expedition has expanded quite considerably since then, but we have been researching the general area, the surrounding region, for anomalies in the land and the air, the fabric of reality. We are looking into the origins of not just this world, but all worlds. And thanks to our acquisition 2 months ago, we believe that we are closer than ever to discovering those origins.
Big work.
Big work, small team, but ably pursued, and it has been a long time in the works, but like I say, I think that we are close. In fact, Paige, do you think that they might be amenable to guests?
I would say so. I think they're probably overhearing us speak and would enjoy meeting our new companion.
Well, in that case, if you would all like to follow Paige through to the other room, and we will introduce you to our acquisition.
I clap my hands together excitedly and lead them all into the room.
I go last and very slowly.
So as you all enter, you find yourself walking into the wooden extension to the building. It's very simple. There is a desk off to one side, like a drawing desk, and you see a chair next to this. But you cannot see the walls of the room. On every side you see paper, and they're drawings. Drawings and diagrams and maps and cross-sections. Maps of areas that you do not recognize, of lands that you do not know. And you see drawings. Drawings of wildlife, of fauna, of animals, of Paige and of Esther. And they are uncannily realistic, all drawn with simple paper and charcoal. But it is almost as though they have not been invented, it is almost as though a photograph has been taken. It is all very, very realistic. And as you look around the room, you see that in the center, sat in a simple chair, there is a statue or a figure. But any sense that this is inanimate changes the moment that they turn to you. Billy, would you like to give us your character's name, describe their physical appearance, and their preferred pronouns, please?
Gaia is a very tall, about 6'6", humanoid, made of what looks to be like a black brushed metal over a deep brown oak that passes for what could be called sinew, and beneath the metal exterior has a symbol on his head, and he has they have purple eyes. Refer to them as they, them, or in the case of itself, one.
So this strange automaton sits in front of you all, and Esther slowly walks forward. Gaia, how are you doing today? Do you require anything at all? More paper? More charcoal?
I think for now I do not, but the day has grown very interesting as I heard voices from across the room.
Yes, we have new visitors. We have Lana, and we have Rianvi, and we have, he prefers the term Old Master.
An interesting group of people.
Yes.
And a pleasure to meet you all.
This is our acquisition, and like I say, living proof that our research is correct. All of this around the room, all of this he has, apologies Gaia, all of this they have drawn. Maps of places that do not match anywhere on Toriel or this plane of existence, and we have researched extensively. Gaia, it appears, is from another world.
It has been quite a journey getting here, though I must confess, most of it I do not remember. In fact, barely anything.
Well, that is what we are hoping to ascertain here. But please, Gaia, come through. We will enjoy tea and comfort in the other room. Does anyone require any snacks at all? I have sandwiches prepared.
Well, if you
Please
have
help
prepared.
yourself.
Yeah.
Well,
They are good sandwiches, if
I must say,
myself.
Paige has expanded my horizons when it comes to food in general. I am not originally from Icewind Dale, but come, I will tell you more in the other room. Come. And she leads you all through into the other room and takes a seat around the table. Are you all joining?
Yes. Yeah. As I sit down and go, what's in the sandwiches?
Well, we have smoked knuckle head trout, or we have some of the local fauna. We also have some elk as well, if that might be more your speed.
I'm fine.
Old Master, are you like me? You do not need nourishment?
My hand is just lingering close to my spear.
Well, it is there if anyone wishes to partake.
I'm going to have one of each.
I make like a pyramid.
Ambassador, you are spoiling us.
I will tentatively take one of the fauna ones.
So, you wish to know more of what we do here? Like I say, we came here 30 years ago. Myself and another, my research partner, Carlos Elmtresser, a mixture of artificers, scholars, researchers hailing from all along the Sword Coast. We came here around 30 years ago with a team of around 18 others. We came here looking to research the origins of this world, our origins. There is no answer as to how the universe began, certainly no consensus. The generally accepted one is that the god Owl brought this universe into being. But unlike the acts of other gods, there is no real evidence of this, let alone a concrete answer. Scholars have been chasing it for thousands of years, but still no answer. But 200 years ago in Icewind Dale, there was an earthquake recorded. This in itself is strange. The region is not above any joining plates, and it has not seen anything nearly of this magnitude. But it was accepted as the anomaly that it was, and the scholars thought nothing more of it. But in the years since, there have been reports that the land is changing to the north of here. We believe that the earthquake originated north of Caer Konig, and indeed the surrounding region has seen changes. Creatures, fauna, sporadically evolving. Changing species, plants becoming sentient, rocks morphing to possess strange properties that cannot be explained away by magic or anything like this. No, this is scientific. And we believe that this earthquake is the key. Because we do not believe it was an earthquake. We believe that it was a convergence of different worlds coming together, and that whatever is causing these changes, this evolution, it is whatever came before our worlds. We believe that is what caused this earthquake. Now, up until recently, it was only a theory. It was only a hunch. And we have been here for 30 years. Our operation began small, just in Caer Konig, but eventually, I do not know how, but our research caught the glance of a very generous benefactor, a patron from south of here, deep in the Dales, near Cormier, and he bequeathed us an unimaginable amount of gold to fund our research, our expedition, and it helped us create an observatory just over a day's journey from Caer Konig to the northeast. And there we have been studying. I have stayed here, mainly due to my advanced years, but Carlos Tresser, he has been heading everything over there. And like I say, up until recently, we had no proof that there was any convergence of worlds. That is until, and she places a hand on yours, Gaia, until Gaia, we drew them out of the ice, and in studying them, we found that, though preserved by the ice, their alloys, their wood, their metal, is around 200 years old, and not of this world. We are correct. So that is our research as to the matter at hand. And she steadies herself before taking a sip of tea and placing it to one side. 10 days ago, there was another earthquake, again originating to the northeast, but around then, my team disappeared. They come back every couple of months or so. The last time I saw them was 10 months ago when they brought Gaia to me, but 10 days ago, directly after the earthquake, I heard nothing from them. Usually they would communicate with me via sending stone, but I have heard nothing. And I am worried, especially with this last year of never-ending winter has only grown harsher and more dangerous. I am worried for what might have happened to them. That is why I have called you here and why I wish for you to travel northeast to this observatory to see if Carlos and the others are well. I am, of course, willing to compensate you however you see wish. Upon your return, I am willing to negotiate how much gold you wish to receive. I know that this is no mean task that I ask of you. Do any of you have any questions, any queries, or any likely concerns?
You said this is science, not magic. You don't believe magic to be a science?
I think there is certainly crossover, but in this case, it seems to be natural. Whatever is happening to these creatures, to these plants, as you can see, many of the plants around the room are not originally from Icewind Dale, and many of them not from this world, nor indeed in our conversations with Gaia their own. Something seems to be occurring, bleeding into the land itself, a sporadic and increased evolution. That said, we can only approach it from a scientific background. It is all we have for now. But I understand that I am asking a lot of you, which is why I am willing to offer any amount. I would go with you, but like I say, it is more dangerous than it has ever been in Icewind Dale. I do not know if I would survive the weather.
Then I shall go in your stead.
Gaia, that is very kind, but as you yourself have said, your physiology is not suited to the cold. You are more than welcome to stay here.
I think to discover what is happening, and for my memory's sake, I think going along might help.
In that case, Paige, I know it is a lot to ask of you, but would you mind accompanying Gaia?
Yes, I want to see the observatory for some time myself, and meet all these research assistants instead of hearing their voices. And I'll gladly go with Gaia. I mean, there's not a price you can put on knowledge, after all.
Quite. And I would appreciate it. Old master, that makes 2 more. Is that amenable?
I don't like people who change deals.
I am happy to compensate you with more gold, should you require.
Good. Just one more thing. Gaia, was it?
Yes.
What if your memory comes back and you're not very pleasant to us?
I cannot see the future. I am only inquisitive and curious. And being of more of a leaning towards the scientific side of discovery, I'm just as curious as Esther is. And I'm sure if anything were to go untoward, you'd see to it that everyone is safe, would you not?
I'd try.
I mean, I can assure you, old master, they have been very pleasant. I mean, they're just as much a monster as I am.
Which isn't very much from my experience, Miss Page. But memory is a funny thing.
I only want to help.
For now. You're not worried that you dug too deep, Ludwig?
No.
You should be.
Well, on that note, we can agree to disagree. Well, if that is everything, I can supply you with sleds, dog sleds, as well as some supplies for the journey. Just across, I believe the old master knows where to find. I have organized for food and torches and picks, and there will be 2 sleds between the now 5 of you. I hope that is amenable.
I'm sure we'll be fine.
Good. Well, in that case, like I say, the journey is just over a day. As Old Master will no doubt tell you, at midnight, it gets very cold. A deep freeze grips the land. It would be good to get under cover. But few know the lands of Icewind Dale better than his kind. He will see you well. Thank you all. I will see you soon. God's willing.
Come. We've got a long way to go and not a lot of time.
Can I just take Esther aside briefly before we leave?
As you all leave, you watch Lana step to one side with Esther, and she looks up at you. Yes, how can I help?
I was just wondering, Esther, can I call you Esther?
Of course, Lana.
You mentioned some kind of generous donor funder of your research.
Yes, Lord Malcolm Vidlania. He came upon our research. I am not entirely sure how, but he was very generous with both his time and his gold.
That's very interesting. Did he have a personal interest in this field?
He seemed more interested in our research's potential connection with the weave. The weave, apologies if you are not used to the term, but it is what connects our world with magic. It is a fragile thing. I think he was hoping to discover ways in which what is happening to the north is perhaps connected, whether there might be any way for us to connect with it. But as of yet, we have found nothing. But his research, or rather his donations into our research, continued most generously.
How fortunate for you to have such a generous donor.
It is, yes. Unfortunately, he passed away some 6 months ago, but he left us, nevertheless, a great deal of gold.
I see. Well, we best be going.
Well, Godspeed, and I will see you soon.
Gaia, do you have any drawings of this team we're looking for? Have you met them before?
Out of game, Ed, have I ever seen them come to Siesta?
No, so the last time they came was to drop you off, and you woke fair time later. So your only contacts have been Paige and Esther.
Unfortunately, I do not. When I awoke, it was only Esther and Paige that I knew, and now all of you.
That's fine. Just thought I'd ask.
So, led by Ognan, you make your way over to a small, fairly unassuming building. And you can see, being prepared outside, are 2 sleds, each of them drawn by 3 dogs apiece. As you approach, they seem particularly friendly. They're of wolf stock, and they are heavily furred and bright blue eyes. As you approach, however, Paige, you note that they start growling at you, and they just start baring their fangs and you will watch as the dogs growl at this cat-like individual in your midst before their owner, a rather small gnome with more fur and hide than actual body, waddles out and tells them to hush. He brings out some picks for each of you, and he gives you bundles of rations. Inside there's bread, there's a bracer of knucklehead trout, which, given the weather, don't need much in the way of keeping and treatment, frozen as they are. And there are other things like plant life and leaves for sustenance, and you each receive 2 torches as well. But he gives them to you, and then very quickly huddles back inside his hut.
Who's going on which sled?
I'm happy to share.
Would it make sense for us to split up, Gaia? You could speak with someone new for a change. I'm sure you're bored of hearing myself and Esther's voice.
Your company never.
Oh.
But I am happy to share.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going on this one, and I get on it.
Yeah.
Good, decisive, I like it. Quickly now.
I will get on the same one.
So, Rhianvi, you step on the other one, and as Gaia steps behind you, you feel the sled give a little, their accumulative weight pushing you down into the snow.
Good. Let's get going. Hop!
So, as Ognan walks forward, carving a trail in the almost knee-deep snow for you, Ognan, the wind and the snow whip around you, and the dogs run forward as the 5 of you make your way into the icy wastes to the north of Caer Koenig. And that is where we will take our break. So, we will be back in a bit. For us, it will be around 50 minutes or so, but for yourselves, only a couple of seconds. So, grab a drink, wash your hands. Even though we're playing in a particularly icy portion of the world, it is so warm. So, we're all going to go grab some drink and probably some ice creams as well. We recommend you do the same. We will see you back in a bit, but in the meantime, stay safe, and we love you. Bye-bye.
See you, everyone.
Hi, I'm Ed. I am the Dungeon Manager.
And I'm Diani, and I play Oriana.
Now, if you'd like, you can give us a like, a subscribe,
And follow us on Twitter.
and if you want, you can also check out our Patreon below.
Give us your money!
Okay.
Right.
That's,
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. And welcome back to the second half of our very first of the 3-part mini-campaign of Icewind Dale. I think I got that right. As ever, check the Patreon below, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, all that good stuff, and the link to the book itself. I think we're good to jump straight back in. So, without further ado, back into the tundra. Rhianvi, you stand in the centre of a wide open temple courtyard, lined with arches and terracotta roofing. Symbols of the Mulhorande pantheon surround you, carved into sandstone masonry. Warm sunlight streams in from above, and green leaves fleet in the balmy breeze. You stand there, shaking, cheeks stained with tears, and your hands convulsing as you look around you. Lying on the warm paving stones throughout the lifeless courtyard, there are dozens and dozens of mutilated and charred corpses. You feel a hand on your shoulder.
This is the deal you made. This is what you wanted. Are you happy, child?
This isn't what I asked for.
Oh, look around you. Your people will celebrate you for this great victory, for protecting them from this vermin.
You see one of the bodies move as though kicked.
This is what you asked me to deliver, and what I have given to you.
I don't want it.
Oh, it's too late for that.
Oh, and you feel an embrace around you.
You feel guilty. Yes.
Yeah.
You want to run. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you can't. And you feel the arms let go of you.
There is no running from what you have done. Before, my child, you were alone. But you never have to be alone again. Now, we are one. We envy. We envy.
Rianri! You start. You are surrounded by snow and night, and the dog sled is moving underneath you. And up ahead, you see at a cave entrance, Ognan, shouting towards you, barreling against the stream of white flecks, that whirlwind all around you. Night, this everlasting night, is getting colder. And Ognan, as you have made your way across the wastes, you understand one very simple fact. Midnight is soon approaching.
Everyone get in. Now.
Okay.
I give the dogs a wide berth.
As the sleds start to slow, and very well trained that they are, start to file into the cave, so too do the rest of you. It is dark. It is dark and rocky. There is no light save that for the very full moon that shines in through the entrance. And Ognan, you wave them in one by one. Sniffing the air, the frost is fast approaching.
Could I sniff the cave to see if there's anything in there?
Yeah, make a perception check.
Ah, well,
Sniff
I have
check, sniff
advantage on sniff checks.
You do.
My keen senses. It's a good thing too, because the first roll is a 4. Oh, that's better. Okay. It's another 19, which seems to be my number tonight.
It seems empty. The only smell within this place, sort of paradoxical though it might be given the cold, is damp. and sort of sniffing around, you get an aroma of fungi, you think? Nothing sort of that you wouldn't expect to find in a cave, but as far as you can tell, there appears to be no life.
We should be safe in here till morning comes.
How big is the cave?
It's sort of deeper than you would expect. It's around 20 feet across, but the end seems to keep going and going. This appears to be a natural cave. There doesn't appear to be any burrowing of any kind around, but it is deep.
I'll scout out the area and then I'll head off.
Okay. Anything in particular you're looking for, or just
Danger.
a general? Okay. Make an investigation check for me. What are the rest of you doing?
I mean, I have dark vision, so I am fine.
Oh yeah, I'll light a torch.
I also have dark vision, so okay.
Okay. What did you roll, Catherine? Sorry?
18.
18. Looking around the perimeter, you do eventually find your way to the end of the cave. It's around 60, 70 feet deep, so it is quite long, but especially with the torchlight, looking around, there doesn't appear to be any way into anything. It does appear to literally just be an empty hole that you're in.
Okay, I'll head back.
What were you saying, sorry, Billy?
I was just going to say that looking in the cave, I was going to offer to go first, but because Alana's already done that, that's not necessary.
So, as you all sort of come to the center, you can see the dogs are down against the side of the cave, and Paige, even as you keep a wide berth, you can tell that they are still looking at you with a certain amount of trepidation, but they don't appear to act on said trepidation. But you five are all met in the center of the cave, the sound of the blizzard raging outside.
Could I feed the dogs, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Make an animal handling check for me.
Now, packs, I'm guessing we have like flint to make a fire and perhaps fuel for said fire.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like between you all, you have enough to make a campfire and cook food and things like that.
Cool. I would like to start a fire once, obviously.
Okay.
Michael has explained his wonderful animal handling check. Was it a 20? Oh.
It's all right.
So moving over to them, it takes a while for them to stop looking at Paige, and then looking at you. You are again like an animal that they are used to encountering on all fours, rather than coming up to them and offering them food. But tentatively, they eat up very eagerly the food that's in your hand, and they are friendly. They're very friendly dogs.
Okay, I just murmur to them and just go, leave her alone.
And they just hunker down and continue eating, but they appear to curl up a little bit, tired from the very long and very uphill journey, it should be noted, that has brought you to here.
I'll come back with my torch and help Paige start a fire with my fire.
So between you, eventually a light orangey glow fills the cave, and your shadows can be seen flickering on all walls as you sit around it for warmth.
All seems clear inside the cave. Good.
Excellent. So this is Rianvi and Lana. This is your first time in the Dales, is it?
This particular area, yes.
Yeah.
It's not always a great hit in the tourist market, but I must say the whole Eternal Night business has certainly put a damper in, what small elements there are there. You would occasionally, see people coming here for fishing trips. There are some that find the knuckle-headed trout to be a delicacy instead of the only fish that you can basically find here.
I get the impression that there's not much work around here. Is that something you found to be true?
Especially with the Eternal Night. If basically, I mean, I'm lucky in a sense. I'm a traveling scholar. I'm usually confined, board and rooms, and I'm well-known-ish, which is why Esther called for me. But other types of work, it's basically just trying to eke your own living and avoid the cold as much as you can.
Has there been a rise in crime as a result?
There's been a rise in, I guess, general negativity, but when times are hard, I mean, in Caer Konig, there are a few valuables to go around the whole town. I mean, most of the 10 towns are the same. Any theft will be, the essentials, food, ale, that sort of thing. Nobody's really got any great riches at the moment, and those that did have mostly left off to, warmer climes.
That certainly lines up with what I've experienced of the area so far.
Lana, as you and Paige talk, you can't help but see something out of the corner of your eye. Sat next to Paige, you see the shadowy figure of a tall, svelte man. Large handlebar moustache meeting with sideburns and closely cropped hair. He wears a handsome shirt that is torn in the center of his chest, and from beneath where his heart should be, black liquid floats into the air like ink in water. And he stares at you. Unseen by anyone else, he stares at you and sits.
I will stop talking to Paige abruptly and just take my sword and start drawing on the floor.
So, before nightfall, is there anything, before midnight hits, is there anything that anyone wants to do before presumably taking watch? Okay, so 3 watches. Who wants to take the first one, the second, and the third?
I'm happy to go first.
I'll go second.
I'll go third.
Okay.
I'll stay up for the entire time of all 3 watches.
Okay. So, as you all roll out your bed sheets and hunker down for what is doubtless going to be a very, very cold night, Lana, you take up first watch, illuminated by the orange firelight, and you see Gaia sat off to one side, their legs crossed, hands on their knees, and a very dull glow of purple from behind their eyes. Can you make a perception check for me, please?
Oh no! It's a 1.
Oh no.
Nothing.
Blind now forever.
Cosmic horror, baby. Nothing.
It fits.
Nothing happens. You sit, and you wait, and you watch. The snow continues blowing outside, and the chill increases. You see, round the edge of the exterior of the cave, frost particles slowly eke their way across the wall, stopping just short of coming all the way in. And you hear the cracking of ice outside, but nothing more. Your watch passes without incident.
Can we make conversation? Gaia, isn't it? Where did you get that name?
Nothing. Gaia says nothing.
Then I won't say anything back.
The one thing you do notice is that there is a gentle hum that appears to come from Gaia, even when silent. just a gentle thrum that only when you're listening into it can you properly hear. So, watch comes to an end, and you go and wake Paige.
Has my sort of apparition person gone?
Doesn't appear to be there anymore.
Okay.
So, Paige, as you wake and sit down for second watch, Gaia humming rather familiarly behind you. Can you make a perception check for me, please?
I certainly can. That is a 16.
16. So as you sit not too near the cave entrance, but far enough forward that you can see outside, you are familiar with the ebb and flow of the deep frost that comes across Icewind Dale, and it appears to be abating somewhat as the hours draw on. As you sit there, you hear grumbling behind you, and turning, you can see the rather large form of Ognan twitching in his sleep. Just ever so slightly, ears twitching, the occasional grumble. But beyond this, towards the end of your watch, you see something fly through the sky. Fly before landing down on the snow, light enough that it doesn't create much of an impact. It is a peregrine falcon. But unlike the ones that you have seen in your travels, it has 4 wings, all around its torso. And as it walks forward, its eyes looking in every direction, you could swear that in each eye there are 2 black pupils. And it hops forward a bit before seeing you, and it opens its beak and gives a little cry. But as it does so, you hear the sound of multiple birds coming out of its mouth. And with that, it takes off into the sky and flaps into the air with its impossible wings, flying deep under a moonlit sky. Your watch comes to an end without incident.
I go to Gaia. Gaia, did you see that bird?
I did. Well,
do I see that bird?
Yeah.
More so than anything.
It came close to the entrance, yes.
Okay.
Yes. I know we're asking a lot of you coming on this trip anyway, but could you possibly draw one of your pictures for me? I would love to have a record of it. It's like nothing I've seen before.
indeed. Have you some paper and pen?
I certainly do, and I take some out and hand it over. I mean, my artistry is so-so. I feel your recollection will be far more accurate than mine.
Almost over the course of that sentence, iRobot style, Gaia's hand just quickly down the page, and there is a perfect representation of the bird that you saw.
I give a quiet squeal of delight, but not too loud. I don't want to wake you. And go, oh, it's beautiful, Gaia. Thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure.
Well, keep this safe for further study, and if we see any more interesting creatures, I might ask you to do the same again if it's not too much trouble.
Of course.
And Gaia goes back into their state.
And once again, a steady hum fills the cavern. So, are you waking up Ogna?
Yes, I fold up the paper, put it away for safekeeping, and gently wake Ognan as they look like they were having he looked like he was having a bit of a fitful sleep.
I fart very loudly.
Ognan, before you wake, you fall. There is darkness, and there is rock, and there is stone tumbling all around you, ice in your eyes, snow between your claws. And that is exactly what you see. Claws, scales, and feather. A horrifying scream, a pain, and scrambling, most of all, scrambling fearfully, scrambling up rock as it gives underneath your hands. It gives, and then, with an almighty fart, Ognan awakes in front of you, Paige. Suddenly, almost like a dog waking itself.
I very politely don't mention it.
I just stalk to the entrance and don't acknowledge it either. I don't have dark vision, so I assume I'm just going to make the perception check on smell.
Yes, yeah, that's probably wisest. So yeah, make a perception check.
Oh, well, I don't need to roll again because that's a natural 20, so it's 23.
Ooh.
Nice.
So, sitting at the entrance of the cave, as you look to the north that many times you have seen the northern lights floating above the skies, usually coming at midnight. It is quiet save for the howling of the winds. And not just the winds. But your watch remains uneventful. And morning, or the facsimile of morning, comes.
Up!
I get up.
I jump and give a little yelp.
It is cold. It is very cold. Not nearly as cold as when you all went to sleep, but no matter the amount of time that you've spent in Icewind Dale, it has not acclimatized you to it. So, what are you doing?
I think I do some cat-like stretches and then have a look at the ration situation.
It's pretty good. Esther left you with a fair amount to work with. Admittedly, a lot of it knucklehead trout. There's not much else in Icewind Dale, but yes, there's a little bit of bread and greenery as well.
I will try and fry a little bit of the trout over the fire.
Okay. You've had a good amount of practice at this, and so you fry some up, and everyone, even a very begrudging Ognan, sort of eats it down for lack of anything else. But eventually, your bellies, while not full, are sated for now, and the wind blows outside.
I eat very little of the trout.
Mm-hmm.
Not because of Paige's cooking, but just because I hate it.
Uh-huh.
And then try and sneak the rest of it to the dogs without her noticing.
Yeah, make a stealth check for me.
Oh, would this count as us being in snowy terrain?
No.
Damn it! 17. Without
anyone noticing, you walk over to the dogs, and once again, the very grateful lapping at your hand as they just literally wolf it down. But they too get up and start to stretch and look over at the group expectantly.
So, old master, what time do you expect our arrival?
Well, should be another half day, 3/4 or so.
Good, I'll be glad to be out of this environment come midnight again.
You're never out of the cold here.
So, as the wind blows and the snow whirls all around the outside, you all get on the dog sleds and you continue north. It is a long journey, long and bitter and cruel. As you make the journey, can you all make a perception check for me, please?
Six.
Kind of check?
7.
Just a general
Just
look
general,
around.
okay.
Yeah.
6.
7.
Oh wow, we're doing great.
16 for me.
Oh, I got 13, so not as good as Catherine, but apparently better than everybody else.
Wow.
So, Ognan, you are more preoccupied with finding your way to the observatory. Not much time to look around at the environment and the wilderness around you. Rhianvi and Gaia, your dog sled takes some heavy going, especially with Gaia's additional weight. But Paige and Lana, as you all look around, peeking through the snow, and Paige especially, you are particularly excited to be this far north. You notice the creatures in the land. They are unlike any you have ever seen. You see some come out of the snow in your direction. Stags. Stags walking forward, graceful, beautiful, tall. But as you look closer, you see there is something off about them. Their antlers glint. And as you get closer, you see that not only are their antlers made of ice, but they have scaled skin like salmon, and they walk through the snow gracefully. And over the course of your journey, you see other similar sights. You see plants growing in different strange directions, almost like coral in consistency. And at one point you see a white fox jumping through the snow, white fungus emerging from its tail, with white mushrooms seeming to sprout after each step. It is a strange and very eerie sight, unnatural as it is unnerving. But after a day's travel, and by your count, Ognan, at around 10 o'clock, as the wind rages, waves of snow flying over the white dunes around you, an alien shape starts to emerge through the icy howls that whip around you. The silhouette of a building. Or perhaps more accurately, a tower sits atop a small rocky island in the center of the frozen-over river to your right, the water around it completely solid ice. And between the shore and the small island, a stone bridge stretches between the two, covered in at least a foot of white snow.
Well, we're here.
Right. Where should we leave the dogs?
Can I try and find a cave or somewhere nearby that they'd be safe, or is there like a hitching post?
This,
I don't really...
yeah, so this area is very, very, very wide open in comparison. It's still at quite a slope, and you can see that there are mountains off in the distance that this whole tundra seems to slope upwards towards, but this area itself is very barren. The only thing you can really see is the small island with the building on. And also you know that in 2 hours' time, midnight will once again be upon you.
I think it's probably best to take the dogs inside with us. They'll freeze to death otherwise.
Alright. And I'm gonna go and help him to do that.
Okay. So encouraging the dogs forward, you make your way across the stone bridge, and approaching the building you start to see more detail. It's built from dark wood and stone with towering glass windows, and you see that all of these windows sit wide open, the shutters on the outside banging in the wind against the walls. It looks almost like a ski lodge with sloping roofing made of wooden planks and a domed tower stretching above the already impressive two-story structure. And as with the bridge, everything is covered or stained in white snow. And as you draw near to the entrance, you see that the large double doors at its front are wide open, and snow has piled in. And as you approach, Paige, you see that all around there are static shapes in the snow that whips around you all. You can see numerous animals are frozen in place, presumably caught in the deep freeze of midnight. Deer, foxes, You see a bird off to one side with its beak cracked off because of the freeze. It is very eerie, and it is still.
I make a note of this. I mean, there'll be perfectly preserved specimens for later. But realise that probably isn't the priority right now. And I think I would guess Paige would make a very logical leap that having the doors open all the time is not how the observatory usually works, despite her never having been there.
She would be very correct.
Yes. This is concerning. From what Esther's told me, Carlos does run a tight ship. You know, I think safety along with science are his two main concerns, so this is perhaps not the best of signs, but so far no sign of the research crew is better than a bad sign, I suppose.
Everyone look around, see if there's anything big that came through.
Are you doing that as you go inside or before? Okay. So
during and, you know.
Okay. So if everyone makes a perception check as they enter, because wading through the snow, the ground beneath your feet turns to soft red carpet, stained with white streaks of frost. You are in a large entrance hall, the gale outside sounding out a ghostly wail that echoes up into the wooden rafters. A frost-covered chandelier hangs from the ceiling, creaking in the wind. And to either side, there is an open door leading off into separate rooms, and ahead of you, a large staircase reaches up to a wide landing. Snow covers half the room, and frost stretches across the wooden walls. What did everyone roll?
Rubbish.
Supernatural 1.
Oh.
Yeah.
15.
6.
11.
Okay.
Dirty 20.
Okay.
I thought you were saying 30 something, and I was like, what?
So,
Level 6.
Lana, as you bring the dogs in, and Paige, as you look around at these perfectly preserved specimens, the rest of you take in this building, the exterior, and now the interior. You can see snow pouring in, and as you look in through the doors that lead off to either side, you can see that snow rages in those rooms as well. And Ognan, looking to your right, you see what looks to be a mess hall. And true to its name, it is absolute chaos. There is furniture all over the place, and the sound of the snow is almost deafening.
Everyone stay together. Close windows as we go. Close the door.
I'll close the door.
There is an almighty that echoes out, and for a moment at least, the snow from outside is abated in this room. Moving to your right, into the mess hall, your steps echo throughout the large room. It is chaos. The small kitchen in the far corner has been all but demolished, with crockery and cutlery lying scattered across the floor, and the room's 4 long tables and benches have been pushed back against the wall, leaving the centre of the room empty. And on the floor, where the tables should stand, you see a massive mural. Messy and jagged, almost the entire floor space is taken up by a large spiral of empty circles, all of them surrounded by a sea of black paint. And on the far wall you see words written in that same paint. I am blind no longer. Now I see. But this is not what first draws your eye. In the center of the mural on the floor, on a single chair, a figure sits with their back to you, perfectly still.
I murmur to Paige. One of yours?
I mean, I only heard their voices over the sending stones. Did Esther have pictures of any of them?
There were a few like small paintings, the kind you would find in lockets. Most of them were of Carlos Elmtresser, who you would recognise. The others less so, but you know it was the two of them and a team of 18.
Does this figure seem to be similar to any of the crew of 18 or Carlos?
Make a perception check.
Certainly. Oh, that's nice. 23.
23. It's not a figure that you recognise, but as you creep round the side trying to see more of them, you see that her body is covered in frost and she is frozen in place. Her hands are daubed in dried black paint all the way up to her elbows, and as you approach, you see that as she stares at the ceiling, her mouth has been parted back into an 180-degree angle, frozen in a perpetual, bloodied, silent scream, and where her eyes once were, there are impaled 2 jagged shards of black glass.
I think I sort of put my hand over my mouth and sort of stagger back a little bit. I don't think she will have anything to tell us.
I'll go over and have a look too.
Mm-hmm. Looking for anything in particular?
No, I'm just wanting to see what Paige is looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we ought to be pretty careful around here, I think. Can I have another look at the mural? Sorry if you've already said this. So the mural's on the floor.
So it's basically a black... The floor has been painted black, with the exception of where it has been left empty in a spiral of circles.
And the figure is in the middle of that?
They are, yes.
Okay. I mean, it's unlikely, but can I see if I recognise any part of this mural design?
Yeah,
I'd like to see if I can recognise it as well, please.
Okay, so both of you make religion checks for me, please.
13.
12.
You do not recognise this, Lana. Gaia. You remember seeing this on diagrams. Diagrams and research documents. So, the windows continue to bang against the wall, and the breeze continues in. Were you going to say something? Sorry, Diani.
I was going to ask, can I, as everyone is like investigating and looking around the room, can I try to go as far away from everyone else as possible without looking too suspicious?
Yeah, I mean, make a stealth check for me, please.
Oh dear. Oh, it's an 18.
18. Everyone is fairly preoccupied, it's safe to say, with this recent discovery. And you back out a little bit towards the entrance of the mess hall, back into the main hall, where the stairs lead up and another door goes off to another room.
Okay. I would like to talk quietly, as though to myself, and just say, does this mean anything to you?
There is a pause, and then that familiar hand on your shoulder.
This is what you came here for. This is what you came here to do. Remember, this is my will, and And so, it is your will too.
Okay, but I still don't really understand.
You know what the scariest thing in the world is? Neither do I.
And the hand
Right.
lifts from your shoulder.
Cool. I walk back into the room.
So as Rhianvi re-enters, what are the rest of you doing?
I'd like to, because I'm standing next to Paige looking at this figure, just place a hand on her shoulder and say, I think it's best we prepare for the worst.
Yes, I think you're right. I was hoping it would be something logistical, all magic, gone. But it appears to be something much worse. I mean, she wrote this, but her head, something or someone else had to have done that. And there are still 18 more people unaccounted for.
I have no idea what we're dealing with here, but I think we have a fairly capable group with us. I'm sure we can handle whatever it is.
Yes, I mean, Esther chose you all, so I have full confidence in everybody's abilities. And, well, I mean, you've seen Gaia. I mean, they're fantastic. I'm sure they have so much more to show us and might be able to help out more than any of us guessed.
I will do my best, but I've never seen anything like this.
I would be surprised if any of us had. I mean, I've heard of, psychosis and in these barren places, but not quite like this.
So, as
Can
the
I
wind...
just ask a question?
Yes.
Sorry. This room, so the furniture's been pushed up against the wall.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Does that look like intentionally pushed up against the wall in a sort of orderly fashion, or is it like there's been a fight and it's all been shoved aside?
It looks like it's just been pushed to either side. There's not necessarily a pattern to it, but it seems to have been pushed back to make room for what lies beneath your feet.
So the same for the messiness that you were describing.
Yes.
That's all kind of okay. Cool.
Did you say there was only 2 rooms?
2 doors leading away from the main hall. Yes.
Okay.
So, as the wind continues to rage, what are you doing?
I think I'd like to just investigate this figure a bit more visually, not touching them.
Okay. Anything in particular, or just general?
I'm just looking to see if they look like a research person, and if there's anything that might be considered strange about them, like what they're wearing or what they have with them.
Okay. I mean, I will say for expediency's sake, everything they're wearing is very similar to what you've seen other people wear within Icewind Dale, albeit being indoors, not quite as many layers, but it is mostly hides and furs that you see them wear.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's nothing about them that says, there's no like name tag, I work for this research company,
No, there's not. No.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the observatory.
You don't have
My
to be
name
mad
is-
to work here, but it helps. Yes. There's nothing sort of on their person or anything like that at all.
Okay.
Just as another question, so we've been in every room that this structure has.
No, so you came in the main hall, and then
Yes.
there are 2 doors leading off. And
Right,
you've been
okay.
into the right one, and there are no other doors in this particular room. It's just one big mess hall.
Perhaps we should check the other room to be safe.
Good idea.
Yeah.
We go
Let's all
together
stay
or not
together.
at all.
As we say, let's all stay together, I'm going to look around and hopefully notice that Rhianvi isn't there.
I'd say by this stage Rianvi has re-entered the room. She's rather nearer the entrance than you remember her being, but yeah, it's fine. So, making your way into the main hall and past the large stairs that lead up to this landing, you come through into a smaller room. Once again, the windows are all wide open and swinging against the howling winds, but beds and wardrobes line the wall, around 20 in total, each with unlit lanterns on their side tables, a number of which are cracked and broken, and all of them long since covered in snow and ice. In the corner of the room, you see another door, and propped up against it, you see the frozen remains of another individual. Their legs are broken in several places, as is one of their arms, and in their one good hand, you see they clutch a large bloodied sledgehammer. And as for their skull, it is completely caved in, and shards of black glass lie on their lap.
Does it look like they attacked themselves?
You would surmise, yes.
Yes.
So, and this is the other room we're in now.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
And this figure is leaning against another door that leads out back.
Okay.
What expression do they have on their face?
There is no expression. Their skull is caved to the lower jaw.
Oh, wow, okay.
Ed, retroactively, is it alright if I just say that we keep the dogs with us?
Yeah, no, of course, yeah. You unhook them from the sled to make it a little easier for them to move around, but they walk around, and whenever they come into view of another body, they start to whimper, and in some occasions growl, but mainly whimper.
We said we'd take them inside anyway, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm just not allowing Ed to murder them without us.
Yeah.
Yes, we are
Not
dog
murdering
murder.
puppers
See
on
it.
my watch.
I demand obvious dog murder.
So, this body before you, what are you doing?
It's lying against another door, you said, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Perhaps if we move him out of the way, we can make sure the facility is safe.
Do we know where that doors lead? Did you say that it led outside, Ed?
It leads towards the back of the building, presumably to another room, but
Okay.
yeah.
Is there any paint in here?
No paint in here, no.
Was there like a paint bucket somewhere in the other room, or?
There was not, no.
Okay. And she had paint on her hands?
Up to her elbows, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So, sorry, Jess, what are you going to?
Oh, I was just going to say, I think I'm sure none of us is particularly relishing the thought of touching a dead body, so I propose I could gently move this poor soul out of the way using a little bit of magic if no one is adverse to it.
That's fine by me.
Do your thing.
I would like to use Mage Hand to gently move the body.
As you do so, you notice that they literally move across like stone. There's no ragdoll physics or anything like that. They literally just shift to one side, frozen in place. But the door is free, and it creaks open ever so slightly.
When you say they move across without moving, is like in a normal way for someone who is frozen, or like?
Yes, yeah, okay. Like if you push something solid.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So are you going through?
Yes.
Okay. So going through, you see a very long room that stretches off to one side. It's a room of two parts. One side of it, the one that you immediately enter, it appears to be some kind of like storage area with different tools. You can see a sled hanging off to one side. You can see snowshoes, various pitons, torches, long lengths of rope, all of which are hanging on the wall around you. Off to the right-hand side, you are met by the stale smell of musty hay which lines the entire floor of this otherwise unfurnished room. A large sliding door sits in front of you, almost the entire length of the wall, and the sound of the outside is barreling against it. But in the corner of the room, the far corner, you see the the figure of a man. And surrounding him, as he curls on the floor, his knees brought up to his chest, you see dogs, or what remains of them. Their limbs are twisted over one another, their necks are craned back into impossible angles. And as you get closer to the figure of the man, you see that in his eyes there are impaled black shards of glass. And as this pile lies amongst one another, their limbs twisted and contorted, you see that all of the creatures, including the human stomach, are burst open, their insides stretching over one another like roots until joining in their center like a perverse tree and stretching up to the ceiling in the shape of a giant spiral before curling back down the walls with the consistency of coral. And as for the room itself, it is covered in claw marks.
Do I recognise anything about the claw marks?
Make a nature check for me.
Nope. That is a zero.
It is a cacophony of scratches in here, and the wood has been torn almost to shreds, but no, nothing that you recognise.
I just make sure, or try to make sure, that the dogs don't see the dead dogs.
Yeah, they're fairly small doors, so you sort of like, especially with your bulk, you keep them back. But yeah.
Also, I knew you were going to kill some dogs.
I have to follow the thing to a certain extent.
Yeah. Do I recognise anything about the iconography of the spiral?
Make an Arcana check for me.
Arcana check. It's an 11. It's not amazing.
It's not familiar to you at all.
I've heard about black ice. Does anyone else know anything about that? I wonder if that's what this is.
Do I know anything about that?
Anyone who's interested, I'll say make a nature check for me.
Oh, this went so well last time.
Asking the question, so I'm assuming I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
15.
Natural 1.
Oh.
Not familiar with it at all. None of you know what black ice is.
Where did you hear of it?
Just on my travels up north. Someone's looking for it.
The extensive travels up north that you've had.
Well, extensive to get here, but not once I got here, no. But I can tell you the person looking for it is called something Sunblight.
Means nothing to me.
Me neither.
I'm a stranger in these times and land. I would not know.
I mean, is it valuable, this sort of black ice?
If someone's looking for it, then it's valuable to someone.
Well, if it's valuable, and whatever is being stabbed in their eyes is it, then someone found it.
Yes, it makes no sense if this was some ritualistic theft, why they would leave their prize behind.
Brianvi, you're awfully quiet. Have you ever heard of any of this?
I don't think I have I?
You have not, no.
No. No.
Well, let's close the windows and move upstairs.
So, putting shut the windows and now having closed off the entire ground floor, you start to ascend the carpeted stairs. The chandelier still creeping above you, and as you arrive on the landing, you see a corridor stretching off in both directions, and down its entire length, as well as open windows, their shutters still banging against the walls. You see hanging on the walls oil paintings, portraits, landscapes, And on all of these, you see that the subject of each one has had their eyes etched out, animals and people alike. And in the centre of the landing, larger than all the rest, you see an oil painting of 3 individuals stood atop a snowy peak. Esther Blutfist stands on the right. On the left stands a broad-looking man with spectacles and a giant brown beard wearing heavy furs. And this individual you recognise, Paige, as being Carlos Elmtresser. And in the centre of them stands a taller individual wearing comparatively finer clothes, his pale complexion framed by a large handlebar moustache that joins with sideburns and closely cropped hair. And underneath there is a golden plaque. Carlos Elmtresser, Lord Malcolm Vidlanya, and Esther Blutfist. And it is dated 15 years ago. And as with the others, their eyes have been scratched out, and daubed over this particular painting in black pitch is written a single word: liars. And looking down the corridor, you can see at either end there is a door.
Obviously, it's paint, so it might not be the same, but does the sort of, for lack of a better term, handwriting look similar to the writing that was in the hall? Does it look like they were done by the same person or a different person?
As you're ascertaining an art form, make a performance check.
Performance check? Oh, how exciting.
It's a rather backwards way of doing it, but...
Yeah, no, it's fine. That's a 12.
12. It looks different enough to not be the same person.
Yeah, okay.
Does it look hurried?
It's hard to tell. They're quite large letters on a particularly large canvas as well.
Where are they in the painting? What's the the landscape?
It seems to be on a snowy peak of some kind. So, what are you doing?
You said there are 2 more doors further down.
Yep, so there's a door to either side of you at the end of the corridors.
Can I have a look at the other paintings and just see if any of those 3 people are in any of the other paintings?
Yep. So I would say they are very artfully done paintings, but as you're looking through, you can see that they don't appear in any of the other paintings. You do, however, recognise that one of them is of the man who is currently curled up between the dogs downstairs.
And does it have a name?
It does not. Unlike the gilded one in the centre, it does not.
Okay.
I mean, they must have all gone mad. I mean, Esther and Carlos are highly respected. I doubt they would lie, about their findings or even if they had, I mean, it wouldn't be worth this, surely.
Would they have gone mad of their own accord, or were they made to go mad?
I mean, I know there is magic that can cause madness, but I always thought it was a temporary sort, a few minutes at most, not this sustained.
Might not be magic.
Well, you might be right there, old master. Science and magic seem to work in strange ways up here. But...
just to clarify, sorry, the people who had ice in their eyes, was that did it look like they'd put it there, or was it growing out of them?
It looked as though it had been impaled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So, right or left?
We'll follow your lead, old master.
Left it is.
So as you go down the corridor, Sorry, Jess, were you wanting to say
I
something?
was just basically going to say it doesn't matter as long as we stick together.
So as you get to the other end of the corridor, you see an open door. And entering another room, you are met with rows upon rows of bookshelves and cabinets. Some still stand, while others around the room have fallen like dominoes, leaving their contents on the ice-covered floor. You can see books, research notes, papers, all of them lie scattered across shelves, and the floor beneath you crunching underfoot. And on the other side of the door, on the other side of the room, rather, you see a door with boxes, planks of wood, and bookshelves piled in front of it. But nevertheless, the door, broken and splintered around its lock, stands half ajar.
Is there any light coming from the other side?
There is not, no, but there is light coming in through a window in this room.
And the boxes and things are in front of the door, but it is still ajar, and we can see that from where we are.
It looks as though it has been forced open from the other side.
From the other side. Okay.
I would like to see if there's anything I can garner from the research notes. Obviously, there's a lot of them, and I probably can't hunker down for several hours to read all of them.
Yeah. So if you, anyone who's interested, who wants to sift through the notes, feel free, make an investigation check.
I shall do so. All the greatest rolls. 5.
16.
16. And
4.
4. So, Gaia and Rianve, as you look around, nothing much of this seems to make much sense to you. But Paige, as you sort of squat down a little bit and rifle through the paperwork, ignoring the occasional soft growl that comes from the dogs that are coming in after you, you see once ordered notes. There are a few that pertain to various fauna and wildlife in the surrounding area, creatures that have been spontaneously changing their attributes, sometimes even their species. You also see a large folder pertaining to a group of monks in the region known as the Order of One. In the research team's limited dealings with the Order, they've heard the monks refer to something that they believe resides in Icewind Dale, simply called the Cold. And as they understand it, the Cold is something the monks feel honor bound to prevent from spreading. There is a lot of discomfort around this region from the monks they have encountered, but there is note made that they have recently hired one such monk as a guide for the local region. The only other thing that you find that is of any particular note, especially as you're looking for it, you find notes about something called Chardalin. But it is something that the locals call black ice. And it's a substance that's prevalent in Icewind Dale, and its origins are connected to something called Crenshinabon. But beyond this, every other note is kind of in too much disarray to be able to find anything else beyond that. But that's everything you read.
I sort of look at both what I found and go, well, I found a little more information about black ice here, and I basically relay what you said. And they appear as well to have sort of dealt with, well, I suppose interacted with some monks, the Order of One. It's not something I've come across in my travels personally. I give the rest of the information as well, just to save time.
Okay.
Does this mean anything to any of you? I mean,
Not to me.
Would I know about the Order of One?
You would not, Billy.
Okay.
No.
Yes.
Any names?
Were there any names?
There were no names. No.
There were no names given. I mean, they spoke of hiring one as a guide. I mean, I suppose in a way it's like Esther hired you, but no doubt quite different.
Did you tell us about the rest of what you read, like about the stuff about like the creatures like changing species or that
Yeah,
kind of
I
stuff?
think I would relate that. Paige is very much of the opinion that all knowledge is good knowledge. Don't know if it always plays out in a Lovecraftian universe, but sure. So yeah, she wouldn't have any reason to hide any of that from anyone. She would be very open with that.
I think I was writing notes at that point. What was the thing about species changing?
Just that it's been noted that they've changed attributes and sometimes even their species.
Who did?
Just like spontaneously creatures. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Ed, just for point of reference.
Yes.
How does one spell Crenchillable?
So
It's so easy to spell.
I didn't try.
CREN
Yes.
SHINI.
Yeah. Yeah.
BON.
Oh, so close.
Sounds like a particularly scary Cinnabon, but
It did. I had YNA instead.
yeah.
Oh, I had a K instead of a C. That's it.
So
I went fancy names. K, the logical option.
So as Paige sifts through this and then relays all of this, what are you all doing?
Can I just ask Paige, do you know if they studied the creatures or kept them to study them?
Do I know this? I assume Esther would have told me some of what they'd studied, because I'm new.
You have heard that there have been studies enacted on the fauna and the wildlife, in a way that's not as, basically as least intrusive as they can possibly be. So they're not going out their way to kill animals and like bring them back to dissect them, but they have been observing them, and on occasion, like if they find one that's passed on, they'll sort of dissect them and
Yeah, I think Carlos's approach was to be, was not to be intrusive. So it was mainly observation. I assume, I think they did a few dissections if one died, but I doubt we're going to come across a room full of these creatures. Although after what we've seen so far, who knows? But yeah, I think they took a hands-off approach. I mean, I gesture at the papers around me. I mean, there definitely could be more about the creatures here. I mean, I myself saw many on the way up here. I mean, even as we slept in the cave, I saw a peregrine falcon with 4 wings, multi-pupiled eyes, and had a cry like no bird I'd ever seen. So they're definitely numerous, or have become more numerous recently.
Well, I'm just thinking that claw marks make it seem like maybe, something went wrong, and we don't know that it's not still here. So we should just be careful.
I think you're right.
Perhaps we should check the other rooms to be on the safe side. Make sure the building is safe.
I don't think we should leave or stop until we've thoroughly searched every room. I think not knowing what's here is worse than knowing, even if it's bad.
Yeah, we work on the assumption that it is still here.
During this conversation, I have gone over to look through that doorway. You said the doorway was open?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm not going to, open it anymore. But can I just go and see what's on the other side?
Yeah, make a perception check for me.
While she's doing that, I just ready my spear.
Mm-hmm.
18.
18. You see a set of spiral stairs leading up.
Staircase. Through this way. Do you want to see what the other room down here is for first?
Probably a good idea. Don't want it sneaking up behind us.
Okay.
Let's go.
So, as you head in the direction down the landing, you find yourself in front of another door, this time closed at the other end of the landing. As you try the handle, it doesn't budge.
Can I listen at the door, please?
Yeah, make a perception check.
Not very perceptive. Yeah. That was a 2, so it's a 3.
You can't hear anything through the door. Everything is quiet.
Is there a keyhole?
There is, yes.
Can I look through it, please?
You can. It is blocked. There's nothing there.
I can force this door if we want to.
Before we do, anyone good at lockpicking?
It's not really the way I like to do things.
Fair. Well, break it down if you're going to.
Okay, make a strength check for me then, please.
My actual self is just screaming, "This is such a bad idea. You're a thief at heart. Don't do it." Strength or athletics?
Strength, please.
So mean. I never get to use athletics. Right.
Will when you were running.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo style all the down all the
There are many, many doors.
7.
7. As you push against the door, you see that it does give, but there appears to be something blocking it on the other side, and you push and it just back into place. It appears that something is barricading it.
Could I try and help her and we push together?
Yeah, so if you...
I just put one paw
so
on
if you roll again, Catherine at advantage.
Yeah. Okay. Not good. It's better than last time. 13.
Once again, you push it open, and while you're not able to get it all the way open, it opens enough for someone to be able to slip through. Probably not Ognan.
Or me, presumably.
Yeah, you will be needed to keep it open.
Yeah.
For your safety, Paige, I suggest I go in. I can see in the dark.
Aren't you massive?
If you're willing, Gaia, I wouldn't want you to go in harm's way for us. You're just as important as the rest of us.
I'll take every precaution.
Thank you, Gaia.
So, Gaia, bending down and slipping through. The first thing you notice are the pile of equipment and desks that lie in front of the door as you push your way past. And as you look around the dark room, you notice that these desks and equipment match those that spread out throughout the room. You notice the windows too are barricaded. And all around the room there are large metal tables dividing walls between them like cubicles in an office, their contents hidden from view. And above each of them hang smashed glass lanterns. But as you enter, you also feel a warmth in the room, almost like a fire is roaring away.
I start to walk down to start looking at the tables.
Okay. So as you walk through, you see off to one side, on one of the metal tables, a deer undergoing an autopsy. Its insides are pinned open, and you can see stretching out from inside pulsating white fungus made of ice sprouting out of its stomach and its eyes and mouth. You also see another tape. This one catches your interest more. There is a pile of notes on.
I go and have a quick look at the notes.
I will send you the notes.
And for expediency, I will immediately pocket them into the pouch.
Okay, let me just...
What, before reading them?
No, as he's sending them, I'll obviously read them quickly, and then...
Guys, a speed reader.
Automaton.
Okay. There we go. All sent over to you. So, the rest of you, what are you doing while this is happening?
Impatiently waiting for Gaia to move the stuff out of the way of the door.
Okay. Gaia, what do you do? Sorry, I know you're reading as well.
I'm reading through that. I just shout back.
I'm just making sure there's nothing hidden in this room. I shall be back to move the items momentarily. I don't want to put anyone, especially Paige, in danger. Give me a moment. I am perfectly safe.
And as you stand by the door, you also feel a very gentle wall of warmth coming through the door. Like I say, it's very akin to sitting in front of a fireplace. It's almost calming, were it not for your surroundings.
But no light coming through.
No light. So, what are the rest of you doing, or still just waiting?
Just waiting.
Okay.
Fiddling our thumbs, making awkward conversation about the weather.
How long does Gaia take?
I would say probably this long, I'd imagine. Sort of walking around maybe 5, maybe 10 minutes or so.
Okay, so around 7 minutes in, I try and shut the door again.
Okay, make a strength check for me then, please.
If I'm there too, then I'll help him.
Yeah, so at advantage.
I quickly put before anything else, as Guy, I assume because he is not like the others, he can read a little bit faster.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
And
you can just...
I put the notes in my pouch, and I continue to look around.
Okay. What did you get, Michael?
21.
21. Gaia, as you pocket them, you just turn quite nonchalantly as the barricade just flies off to one side, and you see Ognan just step under the doorframe and into the room.
You took too long.
My apologies. I just wanted to make sure everything was safe. And better that one of us is in danger than all of us.
Well, hopefully there's nothing else still in this building, because it certainly knows we're here now.
I've seen nothing in this room, and we're perfectly safe from here.
So are you wanting to look further into the room?
Is there another door, or is it closed? This room closed?
This room is closed, but it does stretch on. It's basically the size of the mess hall in terms of its width and length.
Yeah, I go a little bit deeper.
Okay. Make an investigation check going further.
Okay. I'm gonna use luck.
Okay.
That's still rubbish. At 9.
9. Looking around, you can see that most of this room is in chaos, much like the room below it. You do, however, come across a couple of items that are of note. The first thing you feel is the warmth getting closer and closer, and as you turn around one of the cubicles, you see that standing on a small podium with a number of notes around it, you see a small translucent cube, probably no bigger than your palm, but next to it you see a note that just says, "This should make travelling through the ice a little easier. We'll have more manufactured soon." But picking it up,
I don't pick it up.
Okay, well, not picking it up. Observing it, you see that there, and certainly as you get closer to the desk, you can see that the warmth does intensify into quite a pleasant one. Perhaps less so for you because of your sort of acclimatization to the cold, but nevertheless, it's quite nice. The only other thing you see on the opposite table as you turn around, again standing on its own podium, underneath a number of periscopes and dials, you can see a small, strange rock that it seems to... It's like when you break open a rock and you can see crystal within it. It looks like that, and it seems to pulsate with slightly soft purple energy, and there are more notes surrounding this as well.
Paige.
Okay.
What?
What is it?
What are these?
What are these?
So, Paige, looking at the notes, you can see that they are notes about rocks within the region, demonstrating certain strange properties. This one in particular is from a bit of mountain range that they were exploring. And there were sort of sporadic reports of being able to hear one another's thoughts when around this particular outcropping of rock. And so taking samples back, they've been experimenting on it, and it seems that within around an hour of exposure to this item, this piece of rock, that the effects can be felt, that essentially equivalent to telepathy and being able to hear thoughts and sense individuals. And there are a couple of notes saying perhaps this could be the next stage of our evolution, and looking at it further.
It seems to be geology about rocks and telepathy, and I relay what you say. I mean, if true, I mean, this would be an astounding discovery.
Sounds pretty horrendous to me. Paige, did you say that Esther used a sending stone?
Yes, that's how she would. The research crew would only come back every 3 months or so. So while they stayed in the observatory and she stayed in 10 towns, they would communicate via sending stones.
So maybe we should see if we can find the other half here, so we can report back when we learn more.
Might be a good plan. I mean, I would guess it would be wherever Carlos would be, but
okay, well, we'll bear that in mind.
Yet.
Rhianvi, as the others are talking, you look around the research lab, sort of looking specifically over towards its walls, and looking through the blackness, you see a deeper blackness on the wall. Black paint spread like a mural across one side of the room, and you can see one word repeated over and over and over. Liar, 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 all across the wall. And in front of it, frozen in place, an emaciated-looking individual frozen with their hands up against the wall itself. Black glass impaled in their eyes, and they appear to be looking up at the walls, and getting closer you can see that frozen from its eyes are tears of blood.
Guys?
So where was that? Sorry, I'm confused.
Just in the far wall.
Of this new room that we've come into?
Yes.
Okay.
Guys, there's a... You might want to come and see this.
I'll go over.
Same.
So you go and you see this corpse leaning against the wall.
Anyone familiar, Paige?
Do I recognise them?
You do not.
I'm sorry, no. Again, I mostly only heard their voices.
I think we better go upstairs.
Paige, is the hot box safe?
Do I ascertain it to be safe?
You have heard a couple of sort of research notes down the sending stone of something called a thermal cube, and it's something that the group were developing in order to make travel around Icewind Dale, especially with this everlasting winter, a little easier.
I mean, they've been working on the thermal box for some time. I haven't heard of it having any negative effects. And to be honest, seeing the state of some of the other research team, it might be safer for us to keep it on our person rather than not, if people are amenable to that.
Sounds sensible.
One of you take it.
I will gingerly pick it up, believing in the power of science to protect me. Yeah.
Science protects you. It's very pleasant. It's very
yeah.
like running your hand under warm water.
I pop it somewhere safe in my pack, I suppose, because having it just in my hand is probably asking for trouble.
If nobody minds, I'd much rather we left this other one here.
Not my problem. Don't mind at all.
Yes, I mean, it's fascinating, but not particularly useful when it comes to the dead.
Right, let's go upstairs. And I'll head back out.
Okay.
I'm assuming we've made sure all the windows and stuff are closed.
Yeah.
So, leaving the room and going down the corridor, through the library, and presumably up the set of spiral stairs,
Yes.
Yeah.
you walk up, finding another door at the top, and it is open. And a large circular room opens up to you, a snow-covered floor beneath you, and a giant domed ceiling above your head. There are no windows. Instead, built all around the room, there are desks made from brass and wood, each with tools and instruments hanging above them on the walls. And on the other side of the space, a set of steps leads up to a higher level with iron railings around its edge. And in front of this, dominating the center of the room, is a gigantic brass telescope that reaches up out of an opening in the dome above you. And through this gap, snow rushes through, and a single blade of moonlight pierces the darkness. And by this light, you see that the room is in chaos. Papers and research notes litter the space, vials and glass are smashed, and furniture is turned over throughout. And as you look at the door, you see that its inside is covered in bloodied fist marks.
As if someone was trying to escape.
And by the looks of the state of the door downstairs, probably managed it.
How big are the fist marks?
They're human-sized.
Can I have a look around and see if there's anything of interest?
Yeah, anyone who wants to look around the general chaos, make an investigation check.
I would also just like to, without touching this telescope, just look through the lens.
Absolutely. We'll get back to that.
Can I, rather than investigating, can I just give the room a sniff?
Yeah, make a perception check for me. So, what did everyone who's interested roll?
15.
16.
5.
Nice. Oh.
Or was that just general investigation?
Yes.
12.
So, Jess, I will send you some notes that you find as you're rooting around. Bear with me, everybody. Sorry.
It's live homework.
Yay!
So,
It's a document with lots of apostrophes.
looking around Paige, you see a number of different notes that are out of order, but with your specific personal connection to a lot of this, you are able to reorder most of them. There we go, there's the last one. You're able to reorder most of them into something that has some semblance of date. Rianvi, as you are looking around, you are drawn more towards the slightly higher level of the room that the steps go up to, and so you follow, and you find another sort of desk that is covered in different things. You see notes, you see none of which seem to make much sense to you. They appear to be maps and designs of some kind. You can see sort of dials and you can see cogs, but on the wall, sort of in various holders, you can see large circular glass lenses of different colours all hanging on the wall. And on the floor of the higher level, you see smashed all across black glass. And Gaia, as you look through the telescope, you can see that there is a purple lens affixed to the telescope. And looking through, you see a night sky that does not belong to this world. It belongs to yours. Michael, what did you roll?
Another natural 20, so 23.
Natural 20. You smell nothing. You smell only the others, but nothing else. So what's everyone doing? I know I've given Jess a lot.
It's a lot to
a
read,
lot
yeah.
more, yeah.
I've
You carry on, Jess. Ooh.
oh no, it's fine. I've read them. 'Cause I'm a good I think Paige holds the pages in her hand.
Hey.
She has noticeably paled. I don't know what that looks like on somebody covered in mostly white fur, but I'm going to assume there's some sort of.
Maybe
Her ears are back and her...
And your fur's gone. Yeah, your tail's
Yeah, and I have
gone
a tail,
poofy.
so I'm sure my tail is, also.
Oh, I love it when cats' tails go all poofy.
Yeah.
So, what's everyone doing?
Do I notice pages? Well,
I think it's fairly evident to everyone. Yeah.
Okay.
What's wrong?
I found these notes. They've been doing work with the black ice. They wanted to use it to see other universes, to see, well, where you came from.
And what did they find?
I don't know what he saw, but I don't know who wrote this. There's no name, and it's not Carlos, as they refer to Carlos, but they looked through the lens and, well, they must have gone mad. I mean, it says here Carlos smashed it, locked him in here. They say they caused the earthquake. I mean, I gesture with the pages, wordlessly.
Does anyone else want to have a read?
Yeah, I think if everyone reads them, that might be the best way to do it.
In that case, I will read them out.
Yes, good idea. I was like, I can't do this.
No, send them to all of us. We all want quiet time.
Yeah.
So,
Great content.
The notes start over a year ago. This unnatural winter has proved fortuitous in its timing. They're calling it the Everlasting Rime, apparently the work of Auril the Frost Maiden. Whatever its cause and whatever its reason, the unending night skies have been nothing but a boon as we press on unabated. If it is Auril we have to thank, then we do so. The work continues. 6 months ago, news of Lord Malcolm's murder has reached us. This is a sad day. The funding and support he provided has been invaluable. It will neither be forgotten or squandered. We will continue in our work. 2 months ago. Success. We have had our first breakthrough, the first of the lens's works, and all thanks to that golden band we found beneath the ice. How strange it is to look up through our telescope and to see a night sky that does not belong to you. Now we simply wait for word from Esther and her new friend from beneath the ice to confirm what it is we are looking at. Whatever it is beautiful, and it is only the beginning. 1 month ago. Our good relationship with the Duragar of the region continues to pay dividends. Carlos has managed to reach an accord with their leader, Zardarok Sunblight, who is graciously permitting us a sliver of the precious chardalin he hoards, referred to colloquially as black ice by the locals. Why he collects the substance is unclear, but that is of little matter. A sliver is all we require. The secrets of this universe are soon to open themselves up to us. Soon we will understand where it is we and everything around us stems from. We will know our purpose. 15 days ago. After much experimentation with the Chardalin, it is done. The dark lens is complete. I must confess that after all this time, I am almost afraid to use it. Could this really be it? The answer to the questions, the only question we have been asking. 13 days ago. The lens has sat on my desk for 2 days now, untouched. I have not yet told the others of its completion. What is it that gives me cause to hesitate? Is this not why we came here? Perhaps it is the unending night that racks the region, but this simple circle of glass, looking at it, it is like staring into a black hole. It unnerves me. If there are greater answers to this universe, who we are, who am I to behold them? 1 10-day ago. Enough delay. I am resolved. Today I make the first step towards our greater understanding. Today I finally look through the lens to the space in between. 9 days ago. I am blind no longer. Now I see. And finally, there is another page that appears torn out. Carlos smashed it. He said the lens was poisoning my mind. Wrong, 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 wrong. I've tried to gather it up. A piece is missing. Someone has taken it, locked me in here. They say it is for my own good, say that I am mad, paranoid. I know that I am not. I brought the quake, made the ground shake. I saw them, and they saw me. Now I see more than ever before. Glass in my eyes, it hurts, it burns cold, but I see everything. Colors impossible to describe, the dark light of the void. I carry it with me, and it is blinding. The cold boiling up within me, insides are writhing. They want to get out, they want to get out. Futile to resist, must share with the others, must know. I am not worthy, I am nothing. We are all nothing. And it is here that the words trail off into something unintelligible. Paige, can you make a wisdom saving throw for me, please?
Yay! I love it. Oh, 21.
As you see this, you look down and you see another page on the ground. It seems to float towards you in the breeze, and it lands against your leg, and you reach down and you see another piece of writing. They thought the worlds were balanced plates, or a many-limbed tree stretching out. The scholars were wrong. It is a void, a dark and open, empty void, and they are walking into death itself. In the name of the Untof we are unborn again. I see. I see. And suddenly, the ground shakes, and you hear a banging sound from the floor below. What are you doing? The dogs begin to bark, and then they begin to whine as they back away against the walls. What are you all doing?
Is the door behind us closed?
No, the door is still open.
Can I run to the wall where the door would open onto and just go alongside it? So
Yeah.
I'm just
Absolutely. Yep, so
waiting for something to come in.
Ognan rushes against the wall and hides there. What are the rest of you doing as the banging suddenly increases and you see dust falling and you see snow falling from the top of the telescope?
I'm going to go kick the door shut and then wait on the other side from where Ognan is.
Okay, what about the other three of you? What are you doing as the banging increases and increases and increases?
This might be a total waste, but I would like to cast False Life on myself, please. Because screw you guys. Which doesn't use a spell slot because it's one of my Eldritch invocations.
You'll die first.
Rianvi, as you hear the banging and you step back and you place your hand across your own chest, you feel another hand on top of yours and just a whisper in your ear. This is it. This is the beginning. And that's where we will end tonight's session. And we will be back next week with our second middle session, our second act of Across the Tundra of Terrors. Hope you've enjoyed. We will be back very soon, but like I say, please like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Any support you can give us means the absolute world, and it helps us out immensely. Click the bell icon. You will be notified whenever we have a new video, and in the meantime, I think that's everything. But it's lovely to play with everyone again because it's been so long. The second half went a little longer than I was anticipating, but we will be back next week with whatever that was. So in the meantime, stay safe. We love you very much. Don't forget to pre-order I forgot the name of it.
Rime of the Frost Maiden.
Rime of the Frost Maiden. It's very warm here. Don't forget to pre-order, and we will see you next week. In the meantime, we love you very much. Bye.
Bye.